So I've been on the carnivore diet for a little over a year now, and it has really changed my life for the better. And I've been able to lose fat, build muscle, and feel like a superhero basically throughout the entire time. And I've also been able to not get bored of it whatsoever. And I think a lot of people might run into that issue whenever they're thinking about going on to the diet, or they're thinking about, you know, just how kind of restrictive it is, quote unquote. And so I wanted to make this video today to explain to you that carnivore isn't as boring or as strict as you might think. And so I'm going to lay out kind of 3 reasons why it isn't as boring or strict as you may think. And those 3 reasons will kind of cover how you can add more variety, how you can kind of frame it in a different way, and overall just kind of change that perspective of, oh, it's so boring, it's so restrictive, and hopefully that convinces you further to give it a try like I did for myself. And so if you are convinced by the end of this video that you want to try carnivore for 30 days, I'm making a course for how to get through your first 30 days of carnivore in the link in the description that you can go check out. So there's that. But let's talk about why carnivore isn't as boring as you think. Also, I should introduce myself. My name is Keegan. I help people get onto low carb / carnivore to improve their health and their fitness. So yeah, there's the introduction out of the way. Let's talk about the 3 reasons why. The first reason that I want to get to is to reframe how you think about it. Because yes, you are eliminating a lot of stuff, and some people might think that's very restrictive. But the way I think about it now is, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm eliminating all my favorite, snacks and treats, I think about it in the way, okay, how did I feel before I removed all of these things? How did I feel before? Well, I was lethargic. I was slow, tired. I couldn't focus nearly as well. My energy was up and down. I was fatter anyways. And overall my life quality was worse whenever I had these things in my diet, even though I enjoyed them. Like I will admit the fact that, stuff like fruit and candy and junk food, it tastes good, right? But there comes a point whenever you realize, like, this stuff is destroying your health. It's harming your life. And so I like to view it, and I hope this is the frame that you can take, is that I view it more as, I'm removing stuff that is harming me. I'm not removing, beneficial stuff. I'm just removing the things that were making my life worse. And so is that necessarily strict to do? Think about it in a more extreme example. If, say, everyone was addicted to drugs, like hard drugs, like crack, meth, alcohol, everyone was like going to town on these things. Technically, that's the norm, and no one would bat an eye. They would think, oh yeah, that's perfectly normal, it's just Bob, Bob the meth addict, that's his favorite drug. But it's not healthy for you. It harms your body. Okay, even though it's normal, it harms your body. And so whenever you're the drug addict and you're like, you know what, I'm going to remove all the drugs from my life and just, consume normal substances to keep me alive instead of doing a bunch of drugs, is that necessarily strict? Well, to an outsider's perspective, maybe. But the way I view it, and the way I think that it makes more sense, is you're just removing the things that are poisoning you. And that's literally, if you are going on to carnivore, or even keto, low carb, you're just removing things that are harming you. Because, like it or not, carbs do cause harm in your body. Now, some people can manage that better than others. And if you don't go to town and you kind of restrict your calories and you don't eat that much, like, you can limit the damage done to your body. I will admit that. But it's still harming your body. Like, your insulin goes up because it is a toxic dose to your body. That's just a plain and simple fact, right? If your insulin didn't go up and your blood sugar remained high for too long, hyperglycemia is not a good state to be in. So it's just like, the way I see it is I'm removing things that are harming me, and I am just instead consuming more things that don't harm me. Because from what I understand, meat and eggs have all the nutrition that you need and nothing that you do not. As long as you don't eat like crazy amounts of liver that would give you hypervitaminosis, or eat some poisonous fish like a pufferfish or whatever, then you're doing pretty good, from my understanding. And this past year, I felt great because I've removed the things that have hurt me. And so that's kind of the first reason, is I just view it as it's not that strict, actually. I'm actually just not harming myself anymore. So I don't see it really as strict anymore. You can also think of it this way, like something that I've learned is that carnivore is, and more meat generally, is a more human appropriate diet. Because if you think about it, wolves eat meat, lion eats meat, cows eat grass, horses eat grass. But, it's kind of weird whenever we look at our own selves as humans, and it's like, oh yeah, we have donuts and tomatoes and eggs and freaking pizzas or whatever. That's not an actual food that you find out in the wild, right? But we are animals like everyone else. And whenever you look at our own biology, it's more akin to that of a carnivore. And so the way I see it is like, oh, we're just meant to eat meat. Because is it really strict for a lion to only eat gazelle? Is it really strict for a wolf to only eat elk? Not really, because that's what they've evolved on. And I would argue that meat is what we've evolved on, and very little plants. Maybe some, in times of starvation, and that's why we can digest them to a certain degree and not, instantly die. But it's not what's optimal for us. And that kind of goes back to my point of, I'm not eating stuff that's, necessarily harmful. So there's that. That's the first reason, is I don't really view it as strict. Is more just, I view it more as like the actual baseline of diet than anything else now. And the second reason is that, some people might find it difficult to adhere because they have their friends and they have people in their life around them that are a little bit confused by it. And I've experienced this to a decent degree, but not like super judgmental, I guess. But there's always those social situations where it's like, oh, you're only eating meat, you're not eating like pizza with the rest of us. And it's like, yeah, it's just how it is. A lot of our culture in the West, and in America at least, is really food centric. So a lot of times, there'll be meetups with food. You'll go get food with someone after an event. Like there's like special dinners. A lot of everything. There's fast food on every street corner almost. Like there's so much food culture here, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But whenever you're on this diet, it is something you need to be aware of. And what you can do is just make social events not about that food. Go to the trampoline park. Go play a sport with your friends. Like you don't have to isolate yourself and be a goblin just because you don't eat what everyone else eats. That's perfectly fine. And most people are understanding. Like if you do go to a restaurant and you're like, hey, I just want the steak. No weird stuff, no seasoning, no whatever. People are pretty understanding. They might look at you weird, but honestly, carnivore is becoming more popular now. And more people are like, oh yeah, you know what? Like maybe he has allergies. Like they're not going to judge you that hard, to be honest. And if they are, then they probably shouldn't be your friends. That's just a hard truth. But yeah, that's that's kind of the second point that I have there is, like, if you're concerned about social events and how people think about you, one, most people don't really care that much, and second, oh my goodness, I can't flip these eggs. Ah! So yeah, first thing, most people don't really care that much. They're like, oh, okay, and they'll forget in, a week that you only eat meat and eggs and whatnot. They're also understanding, but you can also just make the social situations less about food. Like, go hang out with your friends. Go, I don't know, record a podcast with them. That's what I do. I'm weird like that. Go do a run club. Go do all that stuff. And then just you don't have to eat with people to socially bond with them. And if you do, most people won't understand if you want to pursue a diet. And if they get all aggressive with you, then just don't engage. Like, it's really not that big a deal. And so like this one time, me and my soccer teammates, we went to, what was it, Waffle House? I know, great establishment, Waffle House, right? But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I went to Waffle House with my friends, right? And then I just ordered eggs and bacon, and they were like, okay, and I just gave them the extra hash browns that I had with my meal, and nobody else really cared. Like, they're like, give me the hash browns. Like, they like the hash browns. I was like, okay, I'll give it to you, bro. Like, really don't care. Like, most people are pretty understanding. Most people don't really care that much. So that's what I'd say for my second point. And the third point, and I might bring up some B-roll as I'm editing this, but you can do a lot of variety stuff whenever it comes to this diet. Like, you aren't limited by, steak and eggs. Now, I think at a certain point you kind of gain the appreciation of steak and eggs, and you're like, oh, this is such a simplistic meal. And at a certain point, complexity just becomes a little bit annoying. You don't want to deal with it as much. And so actually the simpler meals actually become better in that way, just because they're easy to prep and whatnot. But if you ever get bored, there's so many ways to prep food. It's actually insane. Like the other day, just for fun, and I wouldn't recommend people do this on the carnivore diet that often, but I literally made like a carnivore pizza. It was sick. It was crazy. It tasted amazing. My mom tried it, and she thought it was delicious as well. And I was like, heck yeah, man, that's what's up. And it's because it is what's up. It's delicious. But it's recipes like that, and I've also attempted to make like the carnivore ice cream stuff with like cream and egg yolks and stuff. That didn't go so well, but it was still worth a shot, and I think it was fun. So if you ever get bored, there's really interesting stuff like that online that you can find that can spruce up the diet if you're ever bored of it. And there's also like a bazillion different ways you can prepare meat. Like, even with eggs alone, look at this. There's fried eggs, right? Fried eggs here. But I could chop these up and make scrambled eggs. Or I could put them in boiling water with the shell on, obviously, and make hard-boiled eggs. Or I could not have the shell on and make poached eggs. Like, that there is, what was that, six combinations alone? If you think like soft-boiled eggs or hard-boiled eggs. There's over easy, over medium, scrambled wet, scrambled dry. There's so many different variations of just eggs that you can do. It's insane. And then think about the different types of cuts of meat. Like, there's the beef, like the shank. There's the brisket. There's the ribs. There's the strip loin. There's the tenderloin. There's so many different parts of a cow. Just a cow. that you can prepare, and those have their own different ways of preparing. And if you're up for it, you can also just throw in different spices as well. So like, I think, I mean, even on Carnivore, there is almost infinite variation. Now, whilst you are cutting out, whole food groups like, like fruit and vegetables and grains and whatnot, that does limit your variety. You still have basically infinite variety of food. It's kind of insane. Oh, dude. Yeah, dude, I'm cooking these up for my mom, and I think I did a lot better of a job on these than my eggs. My eggs kind of look, I think I overcooked my eggs. It's tragic. Yeah. Yeah, these are good. All right. These are for my mom. And, you don't even have to do 100% strict carnivore. I would say even just doing like a ketogenic low-carb diet would still be really, really good. And in my course, I'm going to make kind of a separate part for that, just kind of touching on how I do keto as well. And that's what I'm working with my parents on, because they're not necessarily 100% on carnivore, but they're doing a little bit more of a keto approach. But yeah, and it's like, you can also just vary that out. If you're not sensitive to some plants, like if you want to throw in avocado or you want to throw in some spices, like, go for it, just to add variety. And, it doesn't have to be super ultra boring. But even if it does irritate you, like plants and whatnot, or you don't want to have any plants, there's still so many variations that you can do just within meat itself. And then there's dairy on top of that. There's eggs. There's the different methods of preparation, slow cooking, smoking. Like, there's a bazillion different woods that you can smoke a brisket with, and it's going to have a different flavor each time. So to think that carnivore is quote unquote boring is just wrong. It's just a fallacy. And so I hope that this video kind of dispelled that, and hopefully you got a little bit out of me cooking up these fried eggs as well. I definitely overcooked these though. Let's see. Oh yeah, I overcooked these. Dang it, bro. Frick. Too much yapping, not enough cooking. It's tragic. I think my mom's are better though, so she'll enjoy those. And I'm gonna enjoy my eggs. So yeah, if you like this video, do the YouTube stuff. If you want to try out carnivore for 30 days, go check out the link in the description. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.